This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, and faith-focused feature stories with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. We'll begin with some breaking news out of Albany. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says a general agreement has been reached on the 37-day late state budget. That spending plan was due April 1st.
The negotiations were not easy. There were very substantive disagreements, tough choices, and powerful special interests trying to influence the outcome.
The $268 billion budget includes a plan to rein in the high cost of auto insurance, and it makes record investments as well in universal child care. New York has never had an on-time budget in the 4 years that Kathy Hochul has been governor. Overseas, Iran today says it is examining a one-page memorandum to end the 2-month-old war. NBC's Richard Engel.
President Trump says the war will be over soon, but he won't commit to a deadline as the world is now waiting for an Iranian response to an American peace proposal.
The peace proposal would lift U.S. sanctions in exchange for Iran giving up its nuclear pursuits.
They may well be prepared to offer remarkable concessions because they see that over the next 3 or 4 weeks, the writing's on the wall.
Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich.
Reagan used to say, trust but verify. I think we have to see what are they really offering. In the long run, you get what you inspect, not what you expect.
President Trump says if Iran rejects this latest peace offer, then bombings will resume with even more intensity than before. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met at the Vatican today with Pope Leo, America's top ambassador and the world's first American pope, discussed the war with Iran as well as the persecution of Christians. Nearly 400 million Christians live in countries today that are hostile toward Christianity. That's 1 out of every 7 Christians on planet Earth. New developments today in the case of the cruise ship with the hantavirus outbreak. More passengers have contracted the illness. None of those left on board, though, are symptomatic. CBS's Tom Holman.
U.S. health officials are monitoring Americans who were aboard the MV Hondius but departed before the ship went into quarantine. The MV Hondius is less than 1 day into a 3 to 4 day journey from Cape Verde to the Canary Islands, and already the plan to get the nearly 150 passengers off the boat is facing pushback. So far, at least 8 people on board are believed to have been infected with the hantavirus. 3 of those cases have been confirmed, 3 passengers have died, and 1 is in critical condition.
17 Americans remain on the vessel as it makes its way to the Canary Islands off the coast of Spain. More than a dozen violent tornadoes messed up Mississippi last night.
Oh, shoot. Ooh. We are inside a tornado.
Hundreds of homes damaged or destroyed in Franklin and Lincoln counties. Storm survivor Randy Ratcliffe.
There was trees popping. I had a tree coming down in my front yard. I went in the house because it really got rough. I got on the floor, and when it come through pretty bad.
15-year-old Max Mahaffey barely escaped his home before a funnel cloud blew it to smithereens.
I was just watching TikTok on my bed, and I just thought it was thunder. I went to my living room. I go back to my room's gone. Then we go get in a tub, that's gone too, so we went under the couch. Then when we got to the couch, everything started rolling. Whole house.
The house was rolling while you guys were inside.
Yes, sir.
One twister tore the roof off a church while congregants were inside. The pastor telling NBC,
we just started praying and people started singing. We didn't realize at the time that the roof was gone.
Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves asking for prayer for his state today as tornado recovery efforts get underway. Tens of thousands of prayer events are happening all over the country today. It's the 75th annual National Day of Prayer.
Whatever's happening in your news, whatever's happening in your neighborhood, at your schools, at your workplace, God wants to hear from you about these things and be invited into the situations so that he can glorify himself, and we grow in faith as we watch his heart and his hand move in the answer to our prayers.
National Day of Prayer Coordinator Kathy Branzel. You can find a prayer event near you at nationaldayofprayer.org. Still to come on the Noon Report, a Thursday edition. Corning Incorporated is expanding. A rainy race weekend at the Glen, and the Sabres win again.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. The beat goes on. A cooler than normal pattern with some showers sprinkled in our forecast. We'll have the details coming up.
All right, Kevin Williams, we'll see you in about 10 minutes. In the meantime, let's check the stories making news all over New York and Pennsylvania. Race fans headed to Watkins Glen this weekend for some NASCAR action will want to bring their wet weather gear. Rain is likely Friday through Sunday at WGI. The NASCAR event usually happens in late summer, but it was moved up this year to early spring, and these fans don't like that one bit.
It could have been at a different time. This time of year in this state is kind of iffy, kind of playing Russian roulette with the weather.
It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. The timing of it and just the weather, because it's not a good idea.
I hope NASCAR learns their lesson from this one. It makes it tougher with our kids in school, so they're in school and we got to go back and forth. We're going to make the best of it. We're still going to have fun, but we're covered in mud.
What a mess there at the Glen. Fans telling WETM they hope next year to have that race moved back to its usual time slot of August or September. Cornell University President Michael Kotlikoff is facing calls to resign after being caught on tape backing over the foot of a student on campus. It happened during a protest last month. NBC's Sam Brock.
President Kotlikoff says he was accosted by a group of individuals known to Cornell for their past conduct, including a long history of ongoing verbal and online abuse, who he says refused to stop after he answered some questions, adding, "They continued to follow me to my car and then surrounded the car, banging on the windows, blocking the car, and shouting. The behavior I experienced is not protest, it is harassment and intimidation."
Kotlikoff was confronted by anti-Israeli protesters after hosting a debate on Jewish-Arab relations at that Ivy League school in Ithaca, New York. A bill to end state funding for the transing of kids in Pennsylvania is now headed to the full Senate for a vote. It bans Medicaid dollars from funding procedures that conflict with the federal ban on sex change operations for minors. Here's Republican State Senator Chris Gephardt.
Simply put, this legislation protects children from life-altering procedures performed at the expense of the taxpayer involving sterilizing drugs or a fast track to the operating table to remove healthy body parts.
Since 2015, Pennsylvania taxpayers have paid over $30 million for so-called gender-affirming care on over 6,000 children suffering from gender dysphoria. Corning Incorporated is hiring 3,000 people and will build 3 new facilities as it expands its optical fiber business. The Southern Tier's largest employer says the hiring boom will help meet the accelerating demand that's driven by artificial intelligence. Those plants will be built in North Carolina and Texas. Amazon hosting an informational meeting last night in Syracuse to update the public about its plans to offer drone delivery service in central New York. Amazon spokesman Jeff Cleland telling Spectrum News those drones would operate under 400 feet and technology's already in place to make sure they do not collide with any aircraft.
There's these redundancies built into there. The same way that you feel comfortable getting onto a commercial aircraft to go on vacation, we want you to feel comfortable living in a community knowing that this drone is flying.
Amazon's working on getting approval to build a drone delivery plant in Clay, New York. Customers within a 7.5-mile radius of that plant could receive products in under an hour. The drones fly at 70 miles an hour and can only handle products weighing 5 pounds or less. They'll drop those packages from a distance of 10 feet off the ground once they reach their destination. Nearly a dozen measles cases have been confirmed in Lebanon County, Pennsylvania. 3 of those cases required hospitalization. Statewide, Pennsylvania is reporting 23 measles cases this year. In 22 of those cases, the infected was not vaccinated. Pennsylvania pediatricians are sounding the alarm, saying funding gaps could impact health care for thousands of children. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
The American Academy of Pediatrics says the state ranks 40th nationwide in Medicaid reimbursement rates, even though about 40% of children rely on the program. Doctors warn that without more equitable payments, practices may have to limit Medicaid patients just to keep their doors open. The group is backing two bills that passed the state House in 2025 and currently sit in Senate committees. These bills would establish a rural health care grant program to encourage providers to practice in underserved areas. They would also protect vaccine coverage and improve malpractice standards. Brian Query, Family Life News.
Thank you, Brian. Parts of rural Pennsylvania are maternity deserts. Ridgeway Ambulance in Elk County delivered 3 babies in the back of their vehicles the past 18 months. 3 of them. That's after the nearest hospital closed its maternity unit. Some women in labor are nearly an hour away from the closest medical care. And 2 of those 3 baby deliveries, the babies came fast, says paramedic Missy Lecker.
I mean, these kids are coming fast anymore. Like the last 2 came within 20 minutes. So had we been within 15, 20 minutes, we would be in the hospital, not in the back of the ambulance.
The Ridgeway ambulance team did receive about an hour training session on how to deliver a baby, but they cannot perform emergency C-sections, which account for 30% of all the births in this country. New York Governor Kathy Hochul's proposed a $30 million tariff relief fund to assist the state's struggling dairy farmers.
We milk about 1,900 cows and farm over 3,000 acres of land to feed those cows. But that certainly would be a very helpful shot in the arm if that were to come through in the budget.
Chris Noble's a 7th-generation dairy farmer in Livingston County.
Most of the tariff impact that we've seen comes in terms of the increased cost for parts and supplies and ag machinery.
He tells Spectrum News with fuel and fertilizer costing more, it is getting harder to be a farmer in New York. New York's GOP gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman wants to roll back some of the green energy mandates being promoted in the Empire State. The Nassau County executive says the push toward renewables has driven up energy costs.
Our utility rates are 70% higher than the national average. Why is that? Well, I tell people all the time, take out your electric bill, examine it. Only 30% of your payment actually goes to energy. The rest goes to excessive delivery fees, more taxes, they tax your utility bills, and the green energy scam.
Blakeman has promised, if elected, to cut in half New York energy bills. Polls show him trailing Governor Hochul by double digits, with about 6 months to go until the November midterms. The search is on for the man who went on a tire-slashing tirade, which damaged nearly 24 vehicles in Irondequoit, New York.
We've been here around 5 years, and nothing like that's ever happened before.
Suzanne Pietrowski telling Wham 13 she had 2 of her vehicles vandalized.
My first reaction was whoever did it's got some pain going on, and it's sad for us, it's sad for that person, and you know, it's all fixable, but it's really devastating for people who have jobs where their jobs could be at risk if they don't show up on time.
At least 21 vehicles had their tires slashed along Culver Road near Seabreeze in Irondequoit. Officials have shared a photo of the suspect. Sports next, it's the 2-minute drill on the Family Life Noon Report.
Buffalo's power play is back. Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, since the beginning of March, the Buffalo Sabres power play was non-existent. They were 0-20 on the man advantage to finish the regular season and were only 1 for 24 in their first-round series with Boston. But last night, the Sabres scored twice on back-to-back power plays, and they won Game 1 against Montreal 4-2. Josh Doan, Jordan Greenway, Bowen Byram, and Ryan McLeod all lit the lamp for Buffalo. The Ducks even their series with Vegas at 1 with a 3-1 victory. To the NBA, the Knicks held off the Joel Embiid-less 76ers to go up 2-0. Embiid did not play due to various injuries. Jalen Brunson led New York with 26 points. The T-Wolves suffered their worst postseason loss ever at the hands of the San Antonio Spurs, 133-95. That series tied 1-1. To baseball, the Yankees' 5-game winning streak is over, falling to Texas 6-1. The lone run, Aaron Judge's 15th home run. Juan Soto led off the game with a long ball, and the Mets beat up the Rockies 10-5. Marcus Semien went 4 for 5 and had a deep shot of his own. The Phillies scored 4 runs in the bottom of the 8th to come back and beat the Athletics 6-4. Edmundo Sosa hit the go-ahead 2-run single. That gave Philadelphia their 8th win in their last 9 games. Brandon Lau hit a solo shot for Pittsburgh, and Paul Skeens was on the mound. Enough said. Skeens' 8th shutout innings, just 2 hits, 1-0 your final. Other winners, the Rays, Angels, Red Sox, Guardians, Brewers, Padres, Cubs, Dodgers, Mariners, Orioles, and Nationals. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report, the $268 billion budget deal in New York. Twisters tear up Mississippi, and Christian smartphones.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stone Street. Some Christians argue that America's founders were overwhelmingly Christian in their faith and outlook. Many were even evangelicals. Many secularists, on the other hand, will claim that these men were basically Enlightenment deists or even free thinkers, which is another way of saying that they were atheists or at least hard agnostics. Now, clearly, there were deeply committed Christ followers among the founders, like John Witherspoon and Benjamin Rush, men who were quite significant but are often overlooked leaders that were involved in the Revolution and the Constitutional Convention. At the same time, some of our founders, though religious, were far from being evangelical, some even heterodox. But how many were deist, as is often claimed? For example, Thomas Jefferson is quite often cited as being a deist. Deism teaches that God created the universe, but does not in any way intervene in the world. By that definition, however, basically none of the founders would qualify, including Thomas Jefferson. Consider these words that are recorded on the walls of the Jefferson Memorial. Quote, "God who gave us life gave us liberty. Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed a conviction that these liberties are a gift of God? Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just, that his justice cannot sleep forever. Commerce between master and slave is despotism. Nothing is more certainly written in the book of fate than that these people are to be free." End quote. In other words, Jefferson was concerned about God judging the nation for slavery. That's something that no good deist would say. Another example is Benjamin Franklin, often recognized as the least religious of all the founders. At a particular impasse during the Constitutional Convention, Franklin famously said this, quote, "In this situation of this assembly, groping as it were in the dark to find political truth and scarce able to distinguish it when presented to us, how has it happened, sir, that we have not hitherto once thought of humbly applying to the Father of lights to illuminate our understandings? In the beginning of the contest with Great Britain, when we were sensible of danger, we had daily prayer in this room for the divine protection. Our prayers, sir, were heard, and they were graciously answered. All of us who were engaged in the struggle must have observed frequent instances of a superintending providence in our favor. To that providence, we owe this happy opportunity of consulting in peace on the means of establishing our future national felicity. And have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Or do we imagine that we no longer need his assistance? I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth that God governs in the affairs of men. If a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid? We have been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that, quote, except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. I firmly believe this, and I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided by our little partial local interest. Our projects will be confounded. We ourselves shall become a reproach and a byword down to future age. I therefore beg leave to move, that henceforth prayers imploring the assistance of heaven and its blessing on our deliberations be held in this assembly every morning before we proceed to business, and that one or more of the clergy of the city be requested to officiate in that service." End quote. Now, it goes without saying, a good deist would never seek divine intervention or rely on answered prayer. Here, Franklin does both of those things. Like Jefferson, if he was a deist, he was a really bad one. In fact, the faith that influenced the founding was not always faithful to orthodoxy, but it was certainly far more influential than deism. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
Thank you, John. Weather where you live with meteorologist Kevin Williams next.
Here is your family life forecast. Our call for this afternoon. Intervals of clouds and sunshine with a stray shower or two. Continued cool for the season. High in the 50s. Normal high temps are in the lower 70s for many. Then tonight, partly cloudy, chilly, stray showers, some patchy late night frost. Low temps 30s. For tomorrow and Saturday, clouds, sun, scattered showers, but steadier showers, steadier rain even across parts of Pennsylvania Saturday. High temperatures both days will range primarily in the 50s and lower 60s.
All right, Kevin, thank you. This is the Noon Report on Family Life. I'm your host, Bob Price. Here's what's happening Thursday, the 7th of May, more than a month past the due date. New York Governor Kathy Hochul announcing today a $268 billion budget deal. Details of the spending package will be worked out in the coming days. It was due April 1st. The plan includes energy rebate checks, auto insurance reforms, and universal child care. The last time New York had an on-time budget was 2019. Iran is reviewing a one-page plan to wind down the 2-month-old war. Ashley Webster at Fox News.
It feels like we've been down this road before, maybe more than once, but President Trump seems to believe a deal can be done.
President Trump says if Iran rejects this latest peace overture, bombings will resume with even more intensity than before. Ongoing hostilities in Iran are front and center at the Vatican today for a high-stakes meeting between the Pope and Secretary of State Rubio.
Their conversations will include the situation in the Middle East and their mutual interests in the Western Hemisphere. Translation, they will talk about Cuba and they will talk about Iran. This meeting, of course, comes after those tense exchanges between President Trump and Pope Leo over Iran.
NBC's Keir Simmons, a cruise ship stricken with the hantavirus, now on its way to Spain's Canary Islands. 3 passengers have died. 3 of the infected are receiving medical treatment in the Netherlands. At least 100 passengers remain aboard the vessel in the Atlantic, including 17 Americans, though none left on board are exhibiting any symptoms of the disease. Massive devastation to report from Mississippi today after violent tornadoes touched down there last night. CBS's Rob Marciano.
Twisters ripped through southern Mississippi overnight, crushing mobile homes and reducing them into nothing but scraps of metal and wood in a trailer park about an hour south of Jackson. Emergency officials say people were trapped by debris. There were 14 reported tornadoes across the state, and Mississippi's Emergency Management Agency says hundreds of homes were impacted.
The funneled clouds flattened Randy Ratcliffe's home in Lincoln County, Mississippi.
I was watching it rain, and it kind of got a little stronger and stronger. I seen the trees start kind of getting real rapid, and then it got really rapid, and then all of a sudden I heard popping. It sounded like a train coming, and that's when it come through.
Schools are closed in at least 3 Mississippi counties today. Sanctuary policies in Fairfax County, Virginia are in the spotlight today. This after a Guatemalan national who raped a child was allowed back on the streets. Conservative podcaster Luke Ball.
I lived in Fairfax County for almost 5 years. It is nearly impossible to get arrested in Fairfax County and maintained behind bars for any length of time. You basically have to have a list of references and a resume and a cover letter in order to get inside the jail, and that's ridiculous.
Crime victim spokeswoman Elizabeth Pipko says sanctuary policies are not only wrong-headed, they are dangerous.
This is Russian roulette with the American people. I can't imagine why anyone is okay with this, why anyone is okay with the policies of putting those who came here illegally and are actually harming Americans. I think it's absolutely asinine.
The suspect in question was initially arrested in June of last year, but released soon after. That illegal immigrant is now in the custody of ICE agents in Virginia. An apparent suicide note written in 2019 by a convicted sex offender has now been released by a judge.
This note, potentially written by Jeffrey Epstein, appears to read in part, "They investigated me for months, found nothing. It is a treat to be able to choose one's time to say goodbye." Epstein's former cellmate, Nicholas Tartaglione, told the New York Times he discovered the note in July 2019 after Epstein was found unresponsive with a strip of cloth around his neck. neck, a purported suicide attempt Epstein survived before he was found dead weeks later.
Correspondent Nicole Skanga. With gas prices soaring, Meals on Wheels is feeling the pinch. Reporter Michael Wallace.
Many of the drivers who deliver the meals to seniors are volunteers.
We're hearing things from volunteers that, we just don't know how much longer we can do this.
Tasha Samuels manages the DuPage Senior Citizen Council in DuPage County, Illinois, near Chicago. She's trying to adjust the program's budget to cover the cost of gas without cutting meal deliveries. Driver Jason Burke says he doesn't just deliver meals, he checks on the welfare of his clients every day.
That's why this job is so important.
That's Michael Wallace reporting. Gas averaging $4.56 a gallon nationwide. In California, it's over $6 a gallon.
I've never put $70 in a 12-gallon car before. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, you got to pay it.
Uber driver Joey Matucci in San Francisco, where the price at the pump today was $6.17 a gallon. You're listening to the Noon Report for Thursday on Family Life.
This is Faith Under Fire. We take you straight to the front lines of religious battlegrounds. I'm your host, Sarah Harnish. With me today, Radiant Mobile founder Paul Fisher and CEO Chris Klemes. We're talking porn-blocking cell phones. This past Tuesday, you launched the first nationwide Christian cell phone network to block all pornography and LGBTQ plus content. It is called Radiant Mobile. Tell me how it works.
We've tried to have a practical solution to a spiritual problem, and we hard block in certain categories. Pornography is primarily one of them. There's 7 categories that we hard block for parents and for every line, and there's 9 that we hard block for kids. But we really fought to put the power of choice back into the user and into the parent's hands.
The technology is pretty incredible and exciting. You're using the Israeli cybersecurity firm Allot to sort website domains to make sure that pornography and other types of content like that don't appear on cell phone screens. How's that different from porn blocking software?
We spent a good year of our life attacking telecommunications companies, saying to them, we know you have the ability to block harmful content before it ever reaches our cell phones. Why won't you do that? And they didn't really take our calls for the first year. And we went again and again and again. And finally, the dam broke. And they finally agreed to allow our partners, Allot, out of Israel, one of the top cybersecurity companies in the world, to go in and to have a filtering program that actually blocks horrific content at the network level way before it ever reaches your phone. We wanted to get in there and have a solution way before it actually reaches the cell phone. So that's where Allot comes into play.
Why use a cybersecurity firm for that?
Because we wanted to make sure that it was bulletproof. We wanted to make sure that it was at the highest level. Nobody had ever done this before. We didn't want any mistakes, so we chose a company out of Israel. They have 30 million subscribers. They've been in business for over 30 years, and we didn't want to take any chances. I have a 5-year-old, I have a 2-year-old. Chris has 6 children, and we take that as a very serious responsibility. And we just wanted to make sure that it was impenetrable, and then what we were about to offer to the public, they couldn't poke holes in it.
Can a Christian cell phone network have as much coverage as Verizon or AT&T?
Absolutely. Radiant Mobile is powered through a partnership with Compax Ventures, operating on the T-Mobile network, bringing faith-focused mobile service together with world-class 5G. And so you're going to experience the same world-class service that you would on any other major carrier.
Let's talk about the epidemic of pornography, especially in Christianity. Can you give me some data? Because this isn't just for kids, it's protecting adults too.
I've been in the ministry 20 years. The stats in the church are alarming. 67% of U.S. pastors report a personal history with porn use. Right now, Gen Z is something we're super passionate about the next generation. They're number one. The most frequent church attending generation, surpassing the boomers and the elders. And the reason that's alarming is because 74% of Gen Z say porn is a problem for them. 64% of Gen Z women say porn is a problem for them. We love the pastors, and we want to give them a practical solution to what we feel is a spiritual problem.
This is a Jesus-centric cell phone network. You're not just blocking porn, you're blocking gaming, violence, Satanism, many different categories, and users can't undo the restrictions. Can it be a frustrating experience to get on the network?
No technology is going to be 100% perfect, but here's the frustration. 50-some% of kids between 11 and 13 are subjected to pornography, and a huge majority is inadvertent. Any inconvenience I have to deal with to protect my family is something I'm willing to do. Our heart behind all this is to put the power of choice into the person that's paying for the cell phone line and protecting their family. We want it out of the hands of the government. We want to put it in the hands of the parent and give them control in their digital life.
Do you think that a cell phone that blocks pornography can start to change the tide of pornography addiction? Can it move the needle?
I sure hope so. It is my prayer. I've sat year after year and service after service where either the churches are afraid to talk about this or they avoid it and they don't say anything. And I just really would love to see a practical solution get introduced. If you have an alcohol addiction problem, you don't want to live next to a bar. Just move somewhere else. We're trying to figure out a way to give a very practical solution, and I really pray that it'll turn the battle in this area for men, women, and for the next generation.
The only way to cure everything is to bring the light, which is Jesus Christ, into the situation. We know that that is the correct and the real solution, not our technology. Our technology is just a tool to help people.
Learn more at radiantmobile.com.
Thank you, Sarah. The name of the program, Faith Under Fire. It comes your way Thursdays during the Noon Report or online anytime at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and FamilyLife.org. And then finally, at noon today, Sunday's Mother's Day. Don't you know, you and I will spend a record amount of money on the special women in our lives this year. The National Retail Federation says consumers are expected to fork over $38 billion collectively, and that breaks down to about $284 per person. Flowers remain the most popular gift for Mother's Day, followed by food, jewelry, special outings, and experiences such as concert tickets or a trip to the spa. And moms, you are worth it. Every penny. And that's our world, the world we live in. Thursday, the 7th day of May. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.